Whoa!
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wet Island. I am your host, Joshua Norris, and today I am excited because I have my first guest on the show, one of my longtime friends, David Brown, who was a former professional writer for the fourth period of the Minnesota Wild. He is now a hockey coach at one of the largest institutions in America, based in Wayzata, Minnesota. But before I bring him on, I want to say one thing real quick. I have to get this plug out of the way. If you are looking in your wardrobe and you do not like what you see, you can head over right now to unreal.co. That's UNRL.co. Unreal.co. And you can get high quality clothing that enables you to look great and perform at your best. Strive to become the best version of yourself. Commit to getting a little faster, a little stronger, and a little smarter each day. Invest in personal health and your overall well-being to improve the quality of your own life. It's not a destination, but a journey taken one day at a time. And bro, I'm not blowing smoke. If you go to unreal.co, UNRL.co, you are going to get quality clothing. With no further ado, I want to bring on one of my great friends, David Brown. Welcome to the program, my friend.
Josh, it's a pleasure to be asked as your first ever guest, and actually pretty humbled to be on with you right now.
Hey, bro, what about that plug, bro?
It's not bad. Unreal Co. is they got some nice high quality stuff, and I got to be a little biased since I live in Minnesota. It's a Minnesota-based company, so they definitely have some sweet stuff over there.
Bro, could you imagine if I had listeners? Bro, unreal.co, that would be the biggest clothing line in the history of clothing lines.
I think it would definitely be onto something, or maybe we're on something, one of the two.
All right, Brownie. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. Bro, so I know that you're on Twitter like I am, and I know that you're deeply amidst in hockey Twitter. Now, when you get deeply amidst in hockey Twitter, when you find out what hockey Twitter actually is, you get into the world of advanced stats. And these advanced stats in hockey, I think the people involved in that are doing great work. You know, when it comes to defensive and offensive zone draws, and you know who starts in which zone. I think that they're doing great work with zone entries. I think they're doing great work. You know what? Even their main event Corsi, I think, is okay on some level. But Brownie, my biggest gripe with the advanced stat thing, it's almost a refusal to acknowledge that things that you cannot quantify exist in hockey. Things like grit, things like that. And here's the thing. I think the people that are rebuttaling these advanced stat guys that think that grit is a thing, I think that they've done a poor job in explaining what grit actually is. And this is why I wanted you on the program, Brownie, because I think that you can explain that.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously like advanced stats. I think that it definitely brings something to the table. You know, you look at baseball, and the advanced stat people are obsessed with, you know, not caring about wins and losses anymore for starting pitching and caring all about the WAR and, you know, balls in play and all those advanced stats that come into play in baseball. And I do think baseball is a numbers game. I think it's a game that you only get 27 outs. You play 9 innings. There's just so many numbers involved. I think it has a place in baseball. With hockey, I think it's a different story. You know, can you really tell what a guy is saying on the bench? The flow of the game, guys are changing constantly. There's momentum swings up and down, back and right, and just in the middle of a shift. It's a game of turnovers, and how do you deal with those types of things? I think hockey is a real. It really shows, you know, things that reflect life as opposed to just hockey. And you get leadership guys that can change the game, whether it be on the bench or whether it be on the ice. And just the way hockey flows, all of a sudden lines are getting mismatched mid-game because you might go 4 or 5 minutes without a whistle. And I think that advanced stats, you definitely have to look into it because you don't want to get somebody an upper hand. But for it to be an end-all, tell-all, I think hockey's a long ways away from that.
Well, Brownie, you bring up a couple things. And first, obviously, baseball. Look, here's why I think advanced stats can play a total role in baseball. Because really, when you get down to the bottom line, I understand there's a defense behind the pitcher that's going to help him out. That's a team aspect. But really, when you get down to it, there's a pitcher and a batter. It's a one-on-one thing, and really, it's a single. It's one versus one. So you can take stats from one guy's thing. But in hockey, it's 5-on-5. It's hard to put advanced stats on everybody, and especially. And the thing that I wanted to bring up as far as explaining grit, because these people don't think it's a thing that exists. Well, bro, just because you can't quantify certain players that like to go into the corners, that are going to do the dirty work, that are going to not just hit just to hit, that are going to hit in order to get possession again. I think that these things matter, and so we have to define grit, and also they hate hits, which I don't like because hits are part of possession.
You devalue hits or you value hits?
I value hits. It depends on what, because the Hawks don't hit because they have the puck all the time. But advanced stat guys look at the Los Angeles Kings as a great possession team. But guess what? They hit, and they don't hit just aimlessly. They hit to knock guys off the puck and to regain possession so they can have possession again.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I wouldn't value one hit the same as another hit. If all of a sudden I'm Cal Clutterbuck and going in to hit a guy, 2 seconds after he's got the puck, and then all of a sudden it's delayed offsides because I went below the goal line to hit a guy for no purpose, and now my team forced a turnover in the neutral zone and Clutterbuck's late getting out of the zone, how actually valuable was that hit? Now, let's point it the other way. Let's say I angle my guy at, my offensive blue line, I force a turnover, and all of a sudden I'm onside, and now all of a sudden we have a turnover, D to D the puck, and now we have an odd man rush because of that hit. Are those hits actually the same value? I would say no. I think hockey sense is so undervalued in advanced stats that might be the biggest missing piece. And when we talk about grit and hockey sense, those are huge intangibles that you can, decipher pretty quickly. You got guys that can skate around cones and shoot the puck through a wall, but can they understand the passing lanes on the power play and get to the right areas so that the guy with the puck can cross box them and all of a sudden you go bar down 1T on the back door. I think there's a reason a guy like Tyler Seguin can 1T on the power play and Alex Ovechkin can 1T on the power play, and you put a guy like Matt Dumba on the power play who's significantly younger. He's got an absolute bomb of a shot as a righty, same situation. But I think the hockey sense and the understanding of the game is something that you have to continue to learn and continue to gain by experience and, listening to your coaching staff and going through video. And it's the same position. And, how does advanced stats, decipher the difference between the two?
And here's the thing, Brownie. So if you're a coach of a hockey team and you got one of your star guys, let's say it's a Stamkos. And well, actually, let's digress real quick. When I talk about grit, people think that grit has a tendency to pertain only to third and fourth liners. I completely disagree. I think Sidney Crosby, one of the best hockey players in the world, is super gritty, bro.
Before you said Sidney Crosby, I was going to say Sidney Crosby is the definition of grit. You look at a guy who could be a superstar on a Stanley Cup team and play with 2 rookies and completely change the way he plays in order to be successful. You look at the Pittsburgh Penguins last year. They rolled every guy, top to bottom, and I think Crosby, gave up some on his offensive stats to play with 2 rookies as opposed to, let's say, playing with Phil Kessel. And all of a sudden, the matchups changed. All of a sudden, I can have Sidney Crosby out there against who I need him to be out there, playing a 200-foot style hockey game, wear my opponents down, and then all of a sudden have my offensive skilled guys go to town on.
Bro, and now you got Malkin and Kessel not playing against the toughest opponents.
Exactly, and it's funny that you brought that up because I'm actually coaching a Tier 1 15-year-old team in Minnesota this weekend, and I use that exact example on how to play unselfish hockey. And it's like maybe Sidney Crosby's advanced stats go down because he's playing with two rookies, not generating as much grade A's, not generating as much, scoring chances, maybe not as many points, but the actual value and grit he brings, maybe defensively in the corner, shutting down the best players on the other team. Maybe the value he brings in having possession, maybe bringing the puck out of the offensive zone just to make the other team attack and forecheck in the neutral zone. All of a sudden you kill another 20 seconds. You dump the puck in, they have to defend another 20 seconds, they chip the puck out. Now those guys are changing. Whereas, let's say he gets selfish, wants to play below the dots, all of a sudden we cycle for 45 seconds, generate a grade A, they chip out. Now all of a sudden I'm tired, I have to get off the ice, and it leads to a scoring chance for the other team. Do I want to trade scoring chances? Maybe not. Maybe my job is to play a solid 200-foot of hockey, get through a 45 to 50-second shift, so that my next line, who we like to match up better, can come out and generate offense. Therefore, their advanced stats are going to be possibly better, even though I did my job for the team the shift before.
Right, Brownie, and it's not just Billy Crosby. It's guys like Taves. It's guys like Bergeron. It's guys like Kopitar. It's guys like Mikko Koivu that as if all.
Could you imagine playing an entire game? Could you imagine playing an entire game against Andrei Kopitar and Jonathan Taves?
Bro, and you think, look, that's the thing about grit. Grit is just a label people put on things to encompass a whole number of things. So that's what I wanted to get to the definition of grit, so that people can more understand why me and you say things like grit matters. So we have to provide this definition.
One thing I really, talk to hockey players about at the high school level, or after high school or right before high school, is what kind of toughness do you want to be? Do you want to be the type of tough that can take a hit to make a play? Because in my opinion, fake toughness is, a guy who wants to do a cheap shot after the whistle or retaliates, and now all of a sudden maybe my team's not as good at 4-on-4, and now I'm going to coincidentals in the box and they score 4-on-4 because I had some selfish fake toughness I needed to prove. Now, do I think you got to play tough? Yes. And that's why I think when you talk about grit and throw out a name like Jonathan Taves, like that guy is going to wear you down. He is going to try to find every loose puck. He's going to stop in front of the net every time, which means you have to stop in front of the net every time, which means you have to tie me up every time, which means you have to retrieve your puck every time because he's going to be on you. I was watching Zach Parise against Canada the other night, and he would not stop moving. And, the way you have to defend down low.
I read your tweet, not to cut you off. He's so difficult to hit and pin and contain, isn't he?
Yeah, and the way you have to defend him is you have to work your bag off. Whereas there's some guys who will stay on the half wall. They'll look really good with the puck. They'll move the puck. They'll have some cycling going. But what are you actually accomplishing? I can switch left and right on the cycle. You cycle the puck to the corner, sweet. I can switch. I can stay, protect the house, protect the net. I don't have to work hard. Now, you look at a guy like Parise and Taves. They're going to get to the front of the net. They're going to hunt pucks. They're going to get to the front of the net. They're going to hunt pucks. They'll hit and pin you. They'll let somebody else come get the puck. And to have to do that for 25 minutes a night defending Jonathan Taves is significantly harder than having to skate up and down the ice with someone that just wants to cycle in the corner and try to beat you off the rush. And I don't think those types of things are valued in advanced stats yet in hockey. Is how hard are you to play against? And it's things that coaches preach in the NHL on a nightly basis. And there's some guys that play that way, and there's some guys that don't. And you look at the two teams like the Sharks and the Penguins, and when you get 20 or 19 guys, because your backup goalie's not playing, when you get 19 guys playing that way, you're hard to play against, and it's going to wear you down. And then you get the firepower that they do have when you make a mistake, and it ends up in the back of your net. And I just think in advanced stats, so the grit and the hockey sense is so hard to measure unless you're inside it, you're on the bench. You know how guys react when you're down 2-0. Do they start cheating the system? Do they start trying to leave the zone early? Well, then all of a sudden that's a completely different situation. And are they trading scoring chances? And when you're down 2-0, you can't be trading scoring chances. Team up 2-0, they should be going all out trying to get that third goal. And I think those are the types of things that can't be measured in your leadership on the bench when you're down 2-0, up 2-0. How you listen to your coaches, how do you respond to them, how do you know how to give up your selfish game to make yourself an unselfish player that betters the team. And I just think that advanced stats misses that in hockey, and I think that's completely different than sports like football and baseball, where it's play by play, it's scripted. You know what you're supposed to do. You know who's coming up behind you. You know what you're supposed to do on 2nd and 6. You know what you're supposed to do with 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. And I just think hockey's a game that changes every 2 seconds.
Brody, I agree with all that. And I latched on to one point you made when you said taking a hit to make a play. That falls into the category of grit, bro, and I cannot tell you how many times as a Kings fan I've watched a guy like Kyle Clifford take a massive hit just to get the puck out of his own blue line, and now we're going the other way with a scoring chance. But that doesn't show up in the box score.
In my
you
opinion,
can't
it's the biggest
quantify that
secret
in
in hockey. It really is, in my opinion, the biggest secret in hockey. When you take a hit to make a play, that means you have the puck, and that means you're taking their guy out of the play. What generates more scoring? 4-on-4. What generates even more scoring? 3-on-3. So if I get 2 guys to take a hit back-to-back plays, I have now created a 3-on-3 situation for my team with the puck.
Well, Brownie, and plus when you think of that particular play on your own blue line and you take that hit and the defenseman is a full stop, but you got your center lane coming and the far wing, that hit, now we're going the other way with speed, and now we're going to have a scoring chance.
Yes.
But Brownie,
in my opinion, you get every guy willing to take a hit to make a play, and eventually you're going to end up with a 2-on-1 somewhere.
And that's another point, Brownie, and that's the thing. Some of these 40 goal scorers out there, and yes, you need your 40 goal scorers. That's the most imperative thing. But some of these guys, like they won't do that for you, so they don't have the same grit. So you need a gritty guy like a Kyle Clifford, like these guys that will do that for you.
I agree. Do you really need a 40 goal scorer?
Bro, I think so. I mean, do you need a 40 goal scorer? I mean, the Kings don't have any 40 goal scorers.
Exactly.
They have everybody
How many
pitched
Stanley Cups
in.
have they won?
2.
Exactly. How many Stanley Cups have the Washington Capitals won?
Brownie, it's a good, but here's the thing about that, and I don't want to digress off the topics and stuff like that. But the NHL playoffs is such a crapshoot. You know, anybody can beat anybody, really. So I'm not going to say the Washington Capitals aren't deserving of a Stanley Cup. I think that they are very good hockey team. But as we were talking here about grit and these things, maybe these things matter so much that maybe that's what has prevented the Washington Capitals from winning one. And we have to explore that. We cannot just take these advanced stat guys things and go, well, they should have won one, but when in reality they haven't.
Exactly. I don't think I don't think things happen by accident. Do I think Alex Ovechkin's a great hockey player? I do. Do I think the Washington Capitals have been an unbelievable team? Yeah, I actually think that's why Bruce Boudreau is going to be a really good fit in Minnesota. But you just listen to the way Stanley Cup teams talk about what made them successful, and I think things don't happen by accident, and there's a reason the Capitals haven't won one. Do I think hot goalies help? Oh, my gosh, I think that's why the Kings won 2 cups.
Brownie, moving on to the next topic. I was talking to you before the show, and I wanted your opinion on. So we don't need to. This doesn't not rocket science to say that the game has changed from the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s and even the mid 2000s. The game has obviously changed, and for my opinion, the better. But what I wanted to get your opinion on is, do you think the X's and O's have changed that much? Or do you think that the players coming up have looked at a guy like Crosby, have looked at a guy like Ovechkin, and have emulated them, and now the kids coming up are just better hockey players in general, so now the game is faster and now it's more skillful? Or have the X's and O's actually changed?
You know, it's funny you wanted to talk about this. I just watched the 1996, I believe it was in 96, the World Cup of Hockey, and I was watching the best players in the world. It was Canada, U.S., back when, it was Lindros and Sakic and Yzerman and Shanahan against Team USA, who had Brett Hull, and Team USA ended up winning it. And I watched, and I was trying to wonder how much has the game changed. Well, you look at teams now, and they don't put guys on their fourth line that are just big burly. You want as many guys that are good at hockey. Do I think the general concept of the game has changed? No. I think you want to move the puck as quickly as you can to each other. I think you want to create as many 2-on-1s on the ice as possible. And I think you want to wear the other team down over the course of the game. But I do think the game has gotten faster. I think it's gotten more skilled. And I think the biggest reason that is defensemen. I think defensemen have become more skilled. They don't just sit on their own blue line waiting for the guys to come and try to lay them out across the middle. I think they want to be a part of the offense. I think you actually play 5-man hockey now to where your D are pinching in all the way to the goal line on the weak side. I think they skate the puck up. I think they want to be a part of the rush. So, the 2-on-1s became 3-on-2s, and now it's all about the 4-on-3s. It's how can you get your defensemen in on the rush. And I don't think the game at its core has changed. I think you still got to play with your heart and not your mind. I still think you have to play with vision and not your energy. And I still think you have to play as a team. I just think it's become more skilled and faster. And in doing so, it's guys like Johnny Gaudreau can be a superstar, and big burly defensemen are few and far between.
Hey, and you know what? It just goes back to, and you made a good point about the big bully defensemen. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, actually. We're not saying, hey, you know what? We have a big idiot, quite frankly. We're just going to put him on a third and fourth line because he's going to do – that's not what we're saying. Now, you need good hockey players pretty much on every line, but grit is a value that the advanced guys, that they totally miss. And it's funny that you bring up Johnny Gaudreau, because I was watching that Team North America, those young kids today. They were playing Team Europe in the preliminaries. God. Did you see those guys?
Oh, it epitomizes where hockey's going, because their speed, their skill, their hockey sense, it just shows what the future of hockey looks like. And I could watch guys like Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel, and they're
how about that Nathan McKinnon today, though? That Nathan McKinnon can get up and down, can he?
That whole team. I don't know what is going to happen when the game tightens up, when the actual tournament starts, and when the D-zone coverage actually, starts to tighten up and guys actually start to play the system hockey more. I think the exhibition really suits the young guys well. They got the legs, they got the speed, and guys are just starting to get a feel for each other and their coaches' systems. I do think the game will tighten up a little bit when the tournament starts, but when you're talking about electricity, entertainment, and speed, it's absolutely fascinating.
Hey, yeah, Brownie, that's a good point. The games don't matter right now, but the fact of the matter is that they just beat the piss out of a team who has a bunch of experienced guys and not bad guys. They're good. Those kids went out there and just sent a message. It's definitely, I'm curious to see how they're going to do against the Team Canadas and the Team Russias and with all those experienced guys. I still believe in my heart they might get a lesson, but that seems scary.
If you were a betting man, which we both know we both are, would you bet on them to finish with a medal?
Well, Brownie, it's the thing. It's some of these young kids that come up. I think that they're so naive. I've learned this firsthand. The Edmonton Oilers. If you look at the Oilers when Sidney Crosby comes into town, guys like Hall, guys like Eberle, guys like Nugent Hopkins, there's an ego that bubbles. And they want to be better than a guy like Crosby. I think that they're so naive and they want to prove their worth, that they're good right now. Would I bet them medaling? No, I would not bet on them medaling, but I'll bet that they'll give teams a run for their money every single game.
I wholeheartedly agree. Do I think they're going to medal? No. Do I think they're going to prevent a team from medaling? Yes. So you look at the 5 powerhouse teams: Canada, U.S., Sweden, Finland, and Russia, and maybe even Team Europe too. Do I think the Team North America, the young guys, are going to medal? No. Do I think they're going to knock one of those teams off? Yes.
Hey, bro, they're my favorite team in the tournament, though. I hope they go all the way.
I'm going to have to go with Team USA, but I definitely think they're the most intriguing.
Get over, bro. This is America.
Yeah, America.
All right, bro. So now, with 5 minutes left, I know you're a Minnesota Wild fan, and I've been a fan,
but I definitely watch every game.
Are you not a Minnesota Wild fan?
I'm 26 years old and trying to decide what being a fan is all about. Do I go to the games, wearing red and green face paint? No. Do I fist pump when Parise scores a big goal? Yeah, I think I do. Just because it feels good in the state to have a quality hockey team at the pro level.
Hey, real quick, I want to get up my favorite Minnesota Wild team ever. I think it was 2003. Richard Park, 12-year-old Pascal Dupuis, Andrew Brunette. I think Wes Walsh was still with the club.
Yeah, he was.
How great was that? But I have some heat with them because I think you got swept by the Ducks and allowed them to win their first Stanley Cup.
Well, here's the deal. The Twins in 2002 got swept by the Anaheim Angels at the time, and that's when guys like Tim Salmon and Darren Erstad were on steroids, pumping out 40 home runs a season, and you had the Rally Monkey and the Thunder Sticks that are illegal now. And then all of a sudden, a year later, it's the Ducks sweeping the Wild out of the playoffs with J.S. Jaguar's oversized pads that would now be deemed illegal in the NHL. So you look at a Twins team and a Wild team that were just playing on sheer adrenaline and possibly the word you used earlier with naive. And then all of a sudden we're losing to Aaron Seeley, who's throwing mid-90s.
Wait, I got to cut you off. I feel like this is nonsense. Because you say you're not a Wild fan, but this is true Minnesotan optimism and conspiracy. You're a Wild fan, bro.
I was 13 years old at the time. I was definitely in the face paint of the red and green when I was 13.
Bro, you don't need to face paint
13 years ago. What's that?
You don't need to face paint to be a fan.
Okay, then, yeah, I'm probably a fan of the Wild. I watch every game. I
think the Wild have ripped your heart out one too many times, and you're in that stage where like, God, do I really have to be a fan this season?
Yeah, I think that possibly the piece of the pull is I just don't get my hopes up as much anymore. That being said, I think Bruce Boudreau is going to take them to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. But
that said, bro, with not a lot of showtime left, what are your expectations on the Wild this season?
I think Zach Parise, Ryan Suter, and Mikko Koivu are going to have career years. I think Mikael Granlund's going to take the next step. I think Haula and Nino are going to have good years. I think Palmenville's going to have a bounce-back year. When you talk about grit, about all the chemistry issues that were reported last year, you wonder how much of that can change when the roster doesn't change. Maybe a coach is all that's needed, and I think he brings some sort of loot in the locker room along with Scott Stevens that, just already Ryan Suter's going to play 5 less minutes. It's like, okay, let's see if he's going to have the most productive season of his career. So I just think that, Parise just switched from an Easton stick to a CCM stick, and Suter just switched from a Easton stick to a Warrior stick.
So there we go, bro. Cut finals.
What's that?
Cut finals, bro. They switched sticks.
Yeah, it's Stanley Cup, Minnesota. Here we come.
Okay. Real quick, one more question, Brian, before I let you go. No Teddy Bridgewater anymore. The Minnesota Vikings, I had him 11-5 or 12-4. What's their record without Teddy?
Schedule's hard. Sam Bradford's a question mark. Most important position in football. New stadium. I'll go 10-6 wild card team, and they get to the conference championship.
I like it, Brownie. I thank you so much for being on the show, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Defense wins championship. The Vikings got it, and so I'm excited about the football season. I worked every Sunday last year. I don't work Sundays anymore. I got the Red Zone Challenge or the Red Zone Channel, and I'm pretty excited to watch some gridiron.
All right, thank you, Brownie. Thank you very much for being on the show. All right, you have a good day, all right?
Josh, we'll talk. We'll see you.
Well, that's it, everybody. That was my interview with the former rider of the fourth period for the Minnesota Wild. He's now a hockey coach at one of the best institutions in America in Wayzata, Minnesota. There it is, our thoughts on advanced stats versus grit and versus elements in hockey that maybe they may not understand. This has been Joshua Norris alongside David Brown. Thank you for tuning into Wet Island. Everyone have a good day.
Progressive presents Mindfulness with Flow.
Your aura brims with confidence. The Name Your Price tool has given you policy options based on your budget. A source of great power rises from within, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex that can shoot dragons out of its eyes, riding on a tank.
Get insurance based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
What's up with your calendar? I replaced all the days of the week with sandwiches. Because at Subway restaurants, every day there's a different sub of the day. Fair enough. Yeah, each day I can choose a different 6-inch sub for just $3.50, or get it as a foot-long sub for $6. So why is today circled in red? Oh, today's my anniversary. Oh. And maybe you should. Yeah, I gotta go.
Subway. Fresh is what we do. Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Additional charge for extras and deluxe, plus tax where applicable. Sandwiches prepared in front of you.